Hi, my name is Lauren, and I hope the microphone works, and if it doesn't, I'm gonna be really upset. Hey, I'm Lauren. I'm a mortician, and like David Sconce from HBO's The Mortician, I also grew up in a funeral home. But that's pretty much where our similarities end, because while I was raised to treat the dead with love and compassion, David was raised to treat them like a number, with a $sign stamped on their literal forehead. Today, I'm breaking down episode 1 of the HBO Max documentary, The Mortician, and whether you've seen it or not, I'm gonna walk you through it, because what happened at the Lamb family funeral home wasn't just unethical, it was horrifying, and sadly, not as rare as you'd hope. The Lamb family funeral home had been around for decades, a trusted family-run mortuary in Pasadena, California, a pillar of the community. But by the 1980s, things took a dark turn. David Sconce, the grandson, was handed the operational reins. Something they don't explain very clearly in the documentary. Not all funeral homes own their own crematory. It's expensive and highly regulated. Most of us outsource cremations. So David saw an opportunity. He opened Coastal Cremations and started offering cut-rate cremation services to other funeral homes all over Southern California. That's how we started getting hundreds, eventually thousands of bodies, not just from their own funeral home, but from everywhere, literally everywhere. Here's the wild part. While his mother stayed up front meeting families and playing the organ during services, David was left to run the back, the crematory, separate building. He was left to run it all by himself, and that's where everything started to unravel. David turned death into a factory line. He mass cremated, stuffing multiple bodies into the chamber, 2, 5, 10 at a time. They were making a game out of it. How many can we burn today? And they even had records set for who could cremate the most in one day. Whoever could stuff the most bodies in the crematory got the You're a Winner sticker today. I don't know, it's fucking morbid. He had 2 crematory ovens, also called retorts. And here's why that matters. Even with 2, it's physically impossible to cremate the number of bodies he was taking in the right way. A proper cremation takes a couple of hours per person plus cool down time. You want it to cool down or you're going to be singeing off your arm hairs, eyebrow hairs, everything. It's not fun. I've been there. But with his deep discount pricing, the bodies were piling up. He was overbooked, overpromising, and couldn't keep up. So instead of slowing down or turning families away like a decent human would, he just started cramming more bodies in per burn. Now, whether that was always the plan or something he resorted to once he got overwhelmed, we don't know, but it speaks volumes that his solution wasn't to stop or slow down, it was to burn faster no matter the cost. And the people he hired to help him, I couldn't even believe he hired people to help him, but he did. And the people he hired were gang members. No training, just cash under the table and silence. They were literally getting high while operating the crematory. And the transport, how they got the bodies to the crematory, not hearses, not proper vans, a moving truck. I use a minivan, 2 people max, clean, quiet, respectful. They were tossing body bags in the back like old furniture going to storage. One of the most horrifying parts of the episode is how they handled or didn't handle the ashes. They dump all the remains into massive metal bins, like industrial trash containers. Picture opening the crematory and seeing ashes pour out like sand in Aladdin's Cave of Wonders. It wasn't sacred, it was a mess. Then, they'd scoop up whatever was on top, stick it in an urn, and send it off. Families received remains that likely didn't belong to their person at all. Sometimes they were told cremations had already happened when their loved ones were still uncremated, sitting in the back. It's beyond unethical, it's evil. And just when you think it couldn't get any worse, it does. David wasn't just cutting corners, he was profiting from the dead piece by piece. He pulled gold teeth from the bodies and brought them home in a cup labeled AU, the symbol for gold on the periodic table, and I wish I were joking. His ex-wife is in the documentary saying she would watch him smash the teeth with tools to extract the gold. And she says it like they were cracking crab legs over dinner. She even talks about their jet skis, their boats, like the perks of pillaging corpses or just part of building a fun little life. David, of course, denies it, says maybe his workers were doing it. Sir, your wife watched you do it. And those workers, they weren't just pulling teeth. They were stripping jewelry, cutting off fingers to get wedding rings. Yes, you heard me. Chopping off fingers. Then hanging the jewelry up like trophies? A creepy, twisted collection like something out of Dexter? Tell me that doesn't scream serial killer vibes? This wasn't just illegal, it was sadistic. It's giving butcher shop. It's giving cartel. It gives mob-run crematory. This next part, I wish it surprised me, but it doesn't. The funeral industry has a dark undercurrent of competition. You wouldn't think it from the outside, but trust me, it's my dick is bigger than your dick energy all day long. Funeral directors want to be the funeral home in town. They want the nicest cars, the biggest chapel, the best obituaries. They want all of the death calls. And if you go with a different funeral home, oh, they'll know. Reputation is everything in this industry, especially in small towns. And if a family dares to use someone else, that gossip spreads like wildfire. It's petty, it's weird, but it's real. There's also a ton of undercutting that happens. If a family gets a price from one funeral home and then turns around and calls another, that second funeral director will often drop the price just to steal the call away from the other. Some funeral homes have been known to steal calls outright, like showing up at the nursing home, greeting the grieving family, or getting there before the other funeral home has the chance, which I know it sounds crazy, but it happens. It's predatory, it's unethical, but it's reality. So when David Sconce swooped in with Coastal Cremations offering rock bottom prices, fast service, and no questions asked, of course the other funeral directors who own crematories were pissed. Case in point, my uncle's hearse was broken into and lit on fire in the middle of the night. Was it ever proven that it was his competitor? No, but come on. Who else is going to break in there and light that baby on fire? Most people are afraid of death, so they avoid the funeral home or the crematory. Just weird. So when Tim Waters, a young mortician, tries to speak out, when he planned to run an expose on Lamb Funeral Home in a funeral industry trade magazine, David sent his thugs to beat him up. Because in this business, when someone threatens your empire, especially someone as arrogant and detached from his humanity as David, it doesn't end in calm conversations, it ends in intimidation, or worse. Tim Waters never got to run that article. Not long after being assaulted, he died mysteriously at just 24 years old. And here's what really chills me. He had dinner with David Sconce shortly before he died. And when the filmmakers asked David about it, his response was, well, he was a big guy, and it's not uncommon for overweight people to have heart attacks. Excuse me? That is disgusting fat-phobic deflection. And again, he was 24, not 84. I mean, thankfully we don't have 24-year-olds falling over all the time, but that is just horrible. I am dying to know if there was an autopsy. Was he poisoned? Was it natural causes? And I really hope episode 2 dives deeper into this because everything about it feels off. He was young, he was trying to speak up, and now he's gone. And here's what really haunts me. David Sconce and we had similar childhoods. We were both raised in funeral homes, but while I was taught to love and honor the dead, he was taught to profit off of them. And I seriously wonder, where did his mother and father go wrong? His mom was right there, up front, playing the organ, meeting families. His dad helped run the business too, but somehow they left their son to turn the back of the funeral home into a slaughterhouse? They failed him. And in doing so, they failed every family that trusted them with their loved one. And if you think this is the only time in funeral history that this has ever happened, it's not. I'll be covering the tri-state crematory scandal next, where over 300 decomposing bodies were found scattered in the woods in Georgia, while families were handed back cement. dust. They didn't get their loved ones back. These stories are real, and the consequences are lifelong for the families involved. This was just episode 1 of The Mortician, and it's already one of the darkest things I've ever watched, even as someone who works in death care. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest watching it. I am dying to know what they offered David as payment, because they are interviewing the actual funeral director who treated these families and did these horrible things to their loved ones. They're actually interviewing him, and to hear him talk about the way that he treated the bodies, when you look in that man's eyes, there's no humanity. Let me know in the comments what you think, even if you haven't seen the show, and if you want real talk from someone who actually knows what this job is supposed to be about, hit subscribe. Episode 2 is coming, and trust me, it only gets worse, and that sucks. Okay, see you next time.